Central Minnesota Sports Hub. It's the Morning Sports Desk, presented by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and streaming on YouTube.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade, this is the Morning Sports Desk. I'm CJ Baumgartner. We got Corey Tackmann. Corey, we are going to talk a little state wrestling because that begins today. Also, section girls basketball playoffs has begun in some of those matches, and we have you recapping one that you called last night for Staples-Motley versus Pierz. We're going to talk about all that and more, but first, Corey, it's an important time at the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena.
If you include today, just 4 days left to get yourself entered in to win the big ticket giveaway from the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Here's how you enter. If you have a FunZone Rewards account with a registered card, you're already automatically entered. That's nice and easy. If you're not a FunZone Rewards member yet, well, it's just as simple. Scan the QR code on your screen right now. Head to the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Find the QR code hanging up and about, or head to their social media pages, Facebook, and you'll be able to scan the QR code that way. You have until the 28th of February. You have until the end of the month to get in your automatic entry. That's Saturday, in case you were wondering. And then don't forget to add your FunZone card to your new account as well. It's the big ticket giveaway. Win 50,000 FunZone tickets from the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena.
All right, Corey, let's get a little state wrestling. As we just want to remind you that we have full breakdowns, interviews that we did with Staples-Motley, with United North Central, and with Brainerd. So go listen to our state tournament preview special because those coaches had some great answers, some great stories, great things to tell. Staples-Motley, business trip. United North Central, feeling like this, they've gone 5 years in a row, and Coach Oyster says like this squad just has a different vibe to them. And then you have Brainerd, who's making the state wrestling tournament for the first time in 30 years, and first year head coach leading that program in Andy Picard. And not only that, he's a Brainerd alum. He's somebody who talked about changing the culture, trying to get Brainerd back on the map for wrestling, and just really liking the crew he's had so far. There's a lot of great sound from those guys. So pause this video, pause this podcast, go back, watch, listen to that. And if you've watched it already, go back and do it again because it's great. If you're driving down to the state tournament as you're listening to this for wrestling, it'll be a long car ride. You can listen to it multiple times over. So go back and check out all those interviews. They were great. We appreciate those coaches' time but as they get ready for the state tournament. But Corey, we have wrestling coverage on the Superstation K-106 today, and quarterfinal matches are starting at 4 o'clock, which means we'll be on the air sometime around 3:30, 3:45.
Yeah, I'm excited about a couple of things. One is we've transitioned all of our state wrestling coverage to Superstation K-106. It's also online, WadenaRadio.com, and on the Superstation K-106 app. And I only mention that to say, over the years, Kyle and Dan, or you want to go back even farther with Mike Danvers and John Longy and the like, have done a really comprehensive, wonderful job of covering Central Minnesota at the state wrestling tournament. And it's always been on KWAD, which has been a very appropriate spot. But we finally decided this year, after multiple discussions, like, if we're going to do that sort of comprehensive coverage, wouldn't it make sense to put it on a station that can really reach out and touch something? And that's a 100,000 watt FM radio station. I'm very proud that we're moving this. It's going to make our radio listeners in Central Minnesota, it's going to make that coverage much easier to listen to, especially as that coverage goes late into the evening. 100,000 watt FM doesn't go away like a directionally controlled AM radio signal. And then the Superstation K-106 app is in your pocket wherever you go, so you can listen to it that way. And WadenaRadio.com, the big play button's right at the top of the screen. Like, the stream is just, I think, considerably more accessible as well. So I'm
right up on your computer as you're working all day, and you have that state wrestling coverage just sitting on in the background, so you know what's going on. Somebody pokes their head up, oh, hey, so-and-so's kid made it to the state wrestling tournament. How are they doing? And you can pop up and be like, oh, I know I've been listening all day, and then you can feel like the smart person in the office all afternoon.
So I'm really excited about that. I'm really proud of that. And then the other thing is Kyle threw up a great post on Sports Cow Facebook page this morning. By the way, hashtag Moo. Listen to this breakdown. 4 days, 24 teams, 832 individuals. All on the Superstation K-106. We have coverage of 5 area teams, 5 of the 24 teams, right? Over a fifth of the teams are in our coverage area. We're going to be covering. And then it's over 60 individuals that we are going to be tracking and following and keeping up with throughout this state tournament. Again, comprehensive sounds like a word you use to make it sound impressive. And that's not what this is. It's impressive because it's comprehensive.
Yes.
It literally and completely and entirely. Kyle and Dan do an amazing job. And we're going to get it going this afternoon with some of the 2A team stuff, transition into the 3A and the single A while those matches are happening. CJ, I love this. Is maybe our busiest 3 and or now 4 days of the year, and I just love what we do for wrestling.
It's awesome. And to go back to your first point, the state wrestling tournament, our coverage of that, I know it's over 3 and now 4 days, but this is our most listened to broadcast of the year in anything. I think that's a fair claim to say, right?
I don't know, probably, yeah.
It's our most listened to broadcast of the year. So why wouldn't we put it on the station with the biggest reach like you're talking about? Mike Danvers always used to have a point, and this would be more directed towards if you were trying to sell to get a business to be on the broadcast of the state wrestling tournament, is every town has at least one wrestler that makes the state tournament. And think of how many towns are in the listening area. And to just give them that coverage that they deserve, to give everybody the coverage that they deserve for that. Not that KWAD was a bad spot. It was a great spot for a long time, but we think that let's just beef it up a little bit, and there's no reason why we can't do that as well. We put state tournament games on for football, for basketball, for baseball, softball on the Superstation K-106. State wrestling's not any different, and they deserve it. So it's a really cool opportunity for them, and it's a little more accessible for everybody to get to. And also, the state tournament's now 4 days. So the shakeup, the structure of it has changed, where they are doing quarterfinal and semifinal matches tonight, and then they will do consolation and championship matches on Thursday in the second session. And the first session will be individual to get that going, and then they will have individuals all day Friday and Saturday. The good news is for Friday is that with the individual, or Saturday, I should say, is that championship matches are supposed to kind of wrap up or take place around 5 o'clock. And like Kyle said before, it'd be 10, 11 o'clock at the XL Energy Center, and you got a 3-hour drive home. And I think it basically is let's get everybody out of here on Saturday just a little bit earlier. And of course, it's to accommodate for the fact that girls wrestling has just gotten such a big boost. It went from 2 sections, North and South half, to now 1 class of 8 full sections, which is a really, really cool thing for the growth of that as well. The state wrestling tournament is just one of the biggest events in the year for high school sports in general, because it really is, as every state tournament is, but more so for wrestling because of the individual aspect of it, is just such a big celebration of all the best wrestlers in the state.
Zeke has a post up at WadenaRadio.com covering all the area wrestlers competing in the individual state tournament. I'm not going to run through all the individuals. We've
mentioned there's a lot.
But Aiken, Albany, Alexandria area, Bemidji, Bertha Hewitt, Ferndale, Parkers Prairie, Border West, Brainerd, Barnesville, Detroit Lakes, Fergus Falls, Frazee, Long Prairie, Gray Eagle, Browerville, Minnewaska area, New York Mills, Osakis, Otter Tail Central, Park Rapids area, Pelican Rapids, Pequot Lakes, Pine River, Bacchus, Perham, Sauk Center, Melrose, Staples-Motley, United North Central, Walker, Hackensack, Akeley, Wadena, Deer Creek, West Central area, Ashby, Brandon, Evansville will all get coverage time during this state tournament. It's a great time. Our coverage starts this afternoon, a little before 4 o'clock with the team and individual and team stuff all day tomorrow. individuals all day Friday, individual action all day Saturday. We can't wait. We can't wait, CJ.
A lot of great things happening. Again, the place to check out all of it, Sports Cow on Facebook or WadenaRadio.com. Can I get a moo?
Moo.
Moo. So there's some other things we have to talk about. Like you said, it's the busy time of year. We have state wrestling this week. We have boys basketball playoffs next week. The girls state hockey tournament was last weekend. This week, obviously, at the X's state wrestling. Next week is the tourney for boys hockey. And, of course, in all of this is some section girls. Basketball, gimme the ball because I'm gonna dunk it! And you had playoff girls basketball last night between Staples-Motley and Pierz Section 7 AA first round matchup. And Corey, just give us the lowdown. What was your take of the game?
It was a game that was pretty much controlled by Pierz the entire time. The Pierz Pioneers beat the Staples-Motley Cardinals 7 AA girls buckets last night. There were moments, especially in the first half, where you'd look up at the scoreboard and momentum. I said this during the broadcast as well. Whatever the synonym you want to use, momentum, flow, pace, whatever you want to use there was controlled by Pierz basically from the outset. They got a bucket right out of the gate. They got a steal and another bucket. And they were up 4-0 in the first, under 20 seconds of the game. And, but you'd look up at the scoreboard and you're like, it's a 3-point game. It's a 6-point game. It's a 2-possession ball. It's like at one time it was like, okay, a couple free throws and we're tied up here. This is amazing. It doesn't feel like Staples-Motley has any sort of flow in this game at all, but here they are tied up, and if they can just find their footing, it's right there for the taking. But all credit to Pierz because they just never allowed Staples-Motley to find their footing in that game. The Pioneers advance. They earn the task of Duluth Marshall on what is that?
Hilltoppers. Yeah, Saturday.
And it's just a loaded 7 AA. I do want to especially call out, shout out. We had their senior night last week against Long Prairie Gray Eagle, but it's worth mentioning again here, of course. Seniors, Pam Lawrence and Izzy Cole, and then their manager, Josie Jennison, all participating in the final basketball game of their high school careers. We talk about it all the time. It doesn't make it any easier to immediately reflect because it still is just sad. But I do want to credit all three of those seniors for being a part of the program for a really long time. Coach Besselin talked about, especially in a first year in the program, it's important for those seniors to just embrace. It's so easy to be like, well, it's my last year. And whatever, this is all, and just kind of shove aside a new system, a new format, not even maliciously, that it's just as a hard thing to embrace in your last year. And for Izzy and for Pam to be able to embrace that and show really great leadership for what is a sophomore heavy team. It's important for those sophomores to see that maturity from their upperclassmen teammates in those moments. And then Josie in particular, like Sai goes, she's maybe the most important non-playing member of this team because she does everything that I can't or don't want to do. And she's been doing it for a long time, has been super, super helpful. So just wanted to shout out those seniors and Pam and Izzy and Josie one more time. It doesn't make it easier to have the season come to an end, but I think they can hold their heads up high for their careers and how they contributed and participated and led in that program this year.
Yeah, and I know that we've both talked with Coach Cy Besland over the course of the season, and I think the biggest thing that I think we could both take away from those meetings is, they're a young team, they're taking their lumps, but there's a vision for this team, and you can, if you squint, you can kind of see them taking form over the next couple of years and being a team that night in and night out has a chance to compete with anybody, right?
Well, and they're so much better than they were a year ago. The trajectory, like you mentioned, is It's moving in the right way, and it needs to. Honest, like they're also in the Heart of Lakes, which we know this year is just an absolute juggernaut of a conference, let alone section. And most of those teams go west. Staples-Motley, the girls anyway, happen to go east for their section play. But like, it's playing tough competition when you're not very good is brutal. And when you can't ever catch your breath, it's a really hard thing. But also, what's the cliche? Iron sharpens iron a little.
You have to battle tested.
You have to get better, and it will make you better just by default by playing better competition, which will lead you to be more prepared during section tournaments, so on and so forth until the end of time.
Congratulations to the Cardinals on their season. Congrats to those seniors on some great careers, and we'll talk about them next year. Just one thing to wrap up the show here, Corey. Minnesota Timberwolves get a win late last night against the Portland Trailblazers. I was watching the Peacock broadcast because that was the only thing it was on. And Corey, they took anytime there was a timeout, they took a media timeout, and it was completely infuriating because all I watched was the fourth quarter. Just by the time I finally was able to sit down and watch the game, it was the fourth quarter. And they took a media timeout every 2 minutes. And it was so infuriating to watch as a viewer. I had to turn it off for like 5 minutes. I was like, I'm done watching for 2 minutes and then having them kick to another commercial break in like the last 10 minutes of the game. So that was.
And how long are they? 2 minutes then?
Yeah.
Minute timeout.
Right. Yeah. They squeeze at least 4 ads in that period. So it's just a slog as a viewer to watch. I get it. They got to make their money, but also like this is entertainment and I'm not very entertained when they're doing things like that. But the Minnesota Timberwolves did get a win, 124-121 over a Portland team that isn't quite all built up yet, but they're feisty. They're a feisty Portland Trailblazers team that gets after it. Drew Holiday, kind of their main veteran, leading them. The Wolves are now 36-23, which is where I just want to give an update on, and then we can wrap things up for the day. Timberwolves right now are the 5 seed in the Western Conference. They are a half game behind the 3-seeded Rockets and Nuggets, and they are 6 games behind the Spurs. It feels like the Thunder and the Spurs are competing in that 1-2, and then it's kind of the middle tier where it's 3 through 7 that can all kind of make a claim between the Rockets, Nuggets, Timberwolves, Lakers, and Suns. The Wolves are 3 games ahead of the 7-seeded Suns, so they're 3 games above in terms of avoiding the play-in. They are 1 game above the Lakers for the 6th seed. Portland could make a claim. I mean, they're going to be a play-in team at this rate, but can they get a home play-in game versus having to go on the road somewhere? So that'll be interesting to watch as the season goes on. But with only like 27 games left to go in the season, Corey, the Wolves are kind of right where we thought they would be, which is in the mix in that 3 through 6 kind of slog in the Western Conference.
Yeah, and with that few games left, right, every game becomes increasingly important, and getting these wins now becomes increasingly important, and more importantly, let alone wins and losses, like, are they going to take games seriously? And are they was this game in Portland or was this?
It was in Portland because it had like a 9:00 tip off, and the Trailblazers didn't have their 2 top scorers.
So for them to go in, like, they probably won this game because Portland's just not as good as the Timberwolves. Let's be fair about that. But like, you go in and you get a win, you take Portland halfway seriously on the road. Some of this like mental hurdle stuff that the Timberwolves go through every single year with playing exceptionally well against good teams and playing sometimes exceptionally poor against middling to poor teams is frustrating. So just to start to get in, we're ramping. Like, you got to start that ramp up process where you start mentally taking teams seriously. And I would like to see over the next 2 weeks, I don't know what their schedule is like. It doesn't matter, but my point stands. If you play a bad team, I want to see them to start beat the piss out of them. I want you to really just beat up on bad teams now.
Right.
That's going to be important.
And there's not quite a run of bad teams quite yet. The Wolves tomorrow go to the Intuit Dome to take on the Clippers. That's a 9 o'clock tip tomorrow. And then on Sunday, they go to Denver to wrap up their road trip. It's a 2:30 game. They have the ABC Sunday afternoon game this coming Sunday. And then they have their run where they host the Grizzlies, they host the Raptors, they host the Magic, and then it's kind of back to the Lakers, Clippers, Warriors, Thunder, Suns run before the schedule lightens up a bit. So we'll see what happens for the Timberwolves down the stretch and keep you updated as the season goes on. Morning Sports Desk, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. See you.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Follow the Morning Sports Desk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And watch every show on YouTube.